And we're live. And we're live. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live. Brought to you by Black Hat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We keep you connected to the comic book community. I'm Mark.
I'm Francie.
And we've got a fun show for you today. Going to talk some new comics, maybe a couple vintage comics. Going to talk everything that goes on here in the wacky world of the four-color funny books. It's an interactive show. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're reading, what you're looking forward to reading, your favorite book of the week, your favorite book of last week. What's at the top of the stack this week? Give us your questions, comments, queries, and concerns. We'll address those to the best and least of our ability. And always like to start the show with a little Comic Shop News. Comic Shop News. The big news across comics is the rebirth of comics. As we said in the newsletter this week, sort of like the Phoenix that everybody in comics knows and loves, and you Harry Potter fans know and love. We are rising from the ashes. Comic-Con is back this year. San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. Free Comic Book Day is back this year. Everybody loves Free Comic Book Day. Let's see, San Diego, New York, Free Comic Book Day. Us here at Black Hat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, we're working on our plans for rolling out the red carpet once again. The industry's coming back to life. The world's coming back to life. Everybody's getting their shots, and that's fun and exciting. San Diego Comic-Con, Thanksgiving weekend, back live in person, people showing up and doing the Comic-Con thing. So that's exciting.
I hope that by then, psychologically, we'll be ready to be in amongst crowds again. Because even if it's safe, practically speaking, there's might be some anxiety around being around people again.
I would imagine there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of phobia, a lot of pent-up subliminal angst and anxiety. I imagine there will still be masks. There will still be, protocol and things. But we shall see.
That's exciting, though. Nonetheless, that's exciting.
It is exciting. Might be, I don't know that we'll make it this year. Might be the first time in 20-something years we had to skip. But we'll see. Maybe they'll send our tickets or whatever. I don't know what's going on with that.
Who knows?
But it's exciting to see things kind of
the light at the end
crawling to a new normal.
Yes.
Nothing more fun than San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. Those are the two biggest, best shows in the world.
So they don't have enough bathrooms at New York Comic-Con for the women.
Like most of New York, it's really set up kind of weird and like it was built 200 years ago and then rebuilt 17 times. So yeah, it's a little odd, but it's fun. I had a really good time at the New York Comic-Con.
Yeah, it was fun. Good times.
I don't know. I talked to Steve Wyatt. Hello, Steve, if you're watching. Talked to Steve of East Bay Comic-Con and MouseCon and lots of other great shows. And he is getting back in gear as well. The small shows, your favorite local shows, should be coming back in much the same fashion as the big shows. Q4 certainly. And definitely next year we will we'll be all on top of it again, and that's really exciting. As much as I love being a comic book retailer and having a comic store, as much as I love going to comic book stores, the shows are a whole different beast.
Yeah.
It's just an entirely different everything, and I've missed them, and they're a lot of fun, and I'm anxious to get back to that.
We need to buy more books for the wall.
Yes, which is another tip. Picked up a few cool oldies. So you fans of the vintage cool guy old books, Causey's classics. Two things you need to do. One, you need to schedule one of those virtual shopping experiences so I can show you all the new cool oldies that have come in before somebody beats you to them. And you want to tune in the last Friday of the month as we do Causey's Classics, the live online show where we hang out, talk about the vintage good books, and we sell a couple of them too.
Not to put you on the spot, but do you have a theme yet?
I think the theme is going to be first issues. Everybody's favorite classic comic theme is going to be number ones. Because pick up a nice stash of stuff. There's all kinds of different books in there. but right off the top, and I was going to tease a couple, but I don't want to because we only do like 5 or 6 books on the show, so I don't want to do any spoilers. So last Friday of the month, tune in. Causey's Classics. It's going to be a great show. Got a couple of real gems, and yeah, it's going to be a number ones show.
Nice.
So that's fun times.
Yep.
Let's see. I guess the other comic shop news we have is all like video entertainment stuff. Who's watching Falcon Winter Soldier? Me, and hopefully all of you, because it's awesome. Much like WandaVision, not going to say anything about anything because everything's spoilerific.
It's action adventure.
But it is. It's a buddy cop action adventure show. I love how totally different. I love 2 things. I love that they have now occupied my Friday nights for the rest of my life. Because when this show ends, Loki will start. By the time Loki ends, they'll have another thing. So I love serialized. I love that they didn't put out all of the episodes. Because that's how comics are. That's how it's meant to be. You're supposed to get to the end and be like, oh, no way. And then you're talking with your friends and whatever until the next issue or the next episode or whatever comes out. So I'm having a ton of fun with that. And the second thing is how drastically different it is from WandaVision, which we all knew it would be. But again, much like the comics, yes, it's superheroes, but it could be anything. It could be psychological thriller. It could be action adventure, buddy cops. It could be whatever Loki's going to be.
Awesome.
And so I like that they're so different and yet awesome. And anyway, so Disney Plus, good on you. That's just great stuff.
And Resident Alien. Oh, that's been so good. If you haven't been watching it, you got to watch it. Do yourself a favor. It's hysterical. It's gritty. It tugs at that heartstring. It's great. Alan Tudyk plays Resident Alien. He does a phenomenal job. So that's on Wednesdays, Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah. Last episode was
good.
The season finale. So I guess now you'd have to just stream them.
Yeah, to go back.
Such a good show. Good. And it is. It's a little bit of everything. It was funny. It was poignant. It was exciting. It was all kinds of stuff. Even had a couple minutes of scary. So
which I like.
And murder. Don't forget, it's got murder. Murder most foul. Like most murder is. And I guess the last little thing is the cancellation of the New Gods movie. Got news that there was an Aquaman spinoff they canceled. The New Gods movie got canceled. I don't think that's the Aquaman sequel. I think it's just the Trench they were going to do, which is actually kind of too bad because that's the New 52 book that was so good.
Jeff Johns did that.
Yeah. I'm curious about the cancellation of New Gods. We mention it because it's a Tom King thing. He was very involved in the screenplay, and we're going to be talking a lot about our man Tom King here today. But I also throw it out there. Obviously, there's all kinds of talk about the Justice League movie, the Snyder Cut, now in black and white.
Seriously?
Yeah, you can watch it in color, watch it in black and white. And I guess the black and white has even more footage if the 4-hour movie wasn't long enough for you.
That's insane asylum.
But I'm wondering if the success of Justice League didn't have something to do with the cancellation of the New Gods movie. I wonder if they're not reworking it somehow.
Or if it was this last year, the devastating blow that the entertainment industry took, and they're cutting things that they know they're a little risky.
That is also very true. There's next to restaurants, maybe. I don't know if there was a harder hit industry than
wasn't Angelina Jolie going to be in New Gods?
No, she's in Eternals.
I get those mixed up.
With good reason. Because Jack Kirby did the New Gods, and then he went to Marvel and did the same thing at Marvel and called it the Eternals. Not that that's a knock. Everybody does that. And the Eternals are very different. But yeah, Angelina Jolie is in that, which like every Marvel thing, everybody's chomping at the bit for that too.
And there's more news.
More news? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, somewhat of an insider topic here at Comic Shop Talk Live is John Romita Jr. And he is now going back to the House of Ideas. John Romita Jr. back to Marvel Comics, the place where the company he was literally born into. the place he was literally born to work. He returns to the place where he made his career, launched his career. He's been at DC for a little while, was doing Superman, was doing a bunch of other things, and now he's at Marvel.
Good for him.
Yes, and good for you, and good for CJ. It brings up an interesting thing, and we talked a little bit about this because you weren't here. You were doing your other thing, but CJ poked a little fun about John Romita Jr.
He can't
Infinite
draw
Frontier
Superman
Zero
to save his life. He just can't do it.
And
who draws a scrawny Superman? Who? Anyway, I'll shut up.
Well, no, you don't. That's the whole point of the whole thing. Everything in comics is very subjective, and I love John Romita Jr. because I grew up on him, with him, reading Spider-Man and Daredevil and X-Men. He did some of my favorite issues of X-Men and all the Hobgoblin stuff and Amazing Spider-Man and so I just loved his work and loved a lot of the comics that he did. And I would admit maybe part of that is the name, right? Yeah. Even before that, I grew up reading reprints of John Romita Sr. doing Spider-Man. Arguably, though only barely arguably, John Romita Sr. is the greatest Spider-Man artist of all time.
Ooh, don't let Todd McFarlane hear you say that.
Sorry, Todd. I think he might agree with me. And I mean, I say arguable because everybody has their favorite. Lord knows you got to give it to Steve Ditko. But Romita is he's the Spider-Man artist that when you think of Spider-Man, it's true. John Romita's art that is in your mind. And so I grew up reading his kid, and I loved his Spider-Man and Daredevil and all those things. Okay, so but all of that in a sense is irrelevant because every artist is kind of like that. Every artist in comics, there are people that I passionately disagree with who don't like Jack Kirby. There are people that don't like Alex Ross. There are people that
who are they? I need names.
Everybody, every writer, every artist in comics has people that love their work and people that despise their work. Rob Liefeld is the famous example of that. And everybody has that response when you say Rob Liefeld and art in the same sentence. But some people really like his work. He has a lot of serious fans. He gets work all the time.
Yes.
And there's a lot of different reasons to like an artist. There's a lot of different reasons to not like an artist. And everyone is free to have that opinion. That's why I always say on the show and in the store, don't listen to me. Don't take my word for it. Open the book, read it for yourself, decide for yourself. Because just because I love it, just because she loves it, just because everybody loves it, doesn't mean you're going to love it. And just because I hate it and she hates it and everybody hates it, doesn't mean you're going to hate it. You might love it.
Unless it's Alex Ross. Everyone loves Alex Ross.
I've had more than one person,
Nope.
and I'm not defending it. I'm just they have their reasons, and I don't know. I don't understand it, but that's just how it is, and that's what makes art and entertainment and all of this so much fun.
Certain things are subjective. Certain things are not.
And something else I will say, and is that, and I'm not saying this is true because I enjoyed the Romita Superman stuff for the most part. I would admit it's probably not his best work. I think some folks do better with some companies and some characters than others. I think whether it's a passion for that company's characters or whatever reason, some guys just work better at one company than another. And I don't want to get into specifics because that always makes it seem like I'm insulting someone or someone gets mad because they disagree. But just to say that I think some writers do amazing work, and then they go to the other company and they do, pretty good work. And the art works the same way. And of course, a lot of folks go all over everywhere and they do everything great. But some folks just have a thing for those characters, and maybe John Romita is one of those guys. But
that makes sense.
Anywho, I'm very excited that he's coming back to Marvel.
I'm also very excited that he's going back to Marvel.
And his critics are happy that he's going back to Marvel. So that's
no offense.
That's a win for me.
Win-win. Win-wins all the way around.
That's yes. And then he's got another job. And honestly, to that point, I think it's always fun there's been a lot of, everybody does their Marvel thing, does their DC thing, and then they leave and they go do their creative own
Image
project,
thing.
their image thing. And I kind of miss that. I miss when those folks get away from the big two. I love those creator-owned projects, but I miss Brubaker on Captain America. I miss Rucka's Batman. I miss, we like seeing those guys on our big two books as well. So there you go. Lots of comic shop
things.
news this week. Lots of things to talk about.
And you covered the whole Marvel Random House thing last week.
Why don't you throw some thoughts out since you weren't here last week, and most folks probably don't know anyway.
So there has been since 1997. No, earlier than that.
1987.
I don't know. There's for 30 some odd years. There's been one main distributor of all things comics. That includes Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image. There's one company where all the comic book publishers send their stuff to, called Diamond Comics. And then Diamond Comics would then distribute the comics to all of us retailers. So we never got stuff direct from DC or Marvel. It always went through the distributor Diamond. So with COVID last year, when Diamond shut down, DC left Diamond, which was big news, and went with another distributor. And so that left, Marvel and everybody else still with Diamond. Well, last week, was it last week?
Mm-hmm.
Week before. These weeks, they just run together. Marvel announced that they're also leaving Diamond and going with Random Penguin Publishing House to distribute their books. Why is that important? What does this mean to you guys? Diamond basically has been propping up the comic industry and us retailers for the last 30 or 40 years. They've got their faults. They're not great. They're far from perfect. But them losing the big two, which is their main bread and butter, makes us wonder if they're going to be able to survive with the smaller publishers just doing the business that they have. And so what happens to comics if there aren't any other places to distribute? Image and Dark Horse and IDW and Boom, are they all going to go to Lunar? Are they all going to go to Penguin Random House? Are they going to just go online? So Diamond's in a very tenuous position right now. The transition will happen in October, so we'll see what happens. But I think they've been barely hanging on to just surviving in this last year especially. And now with this big, last right hook punch, I think they might be down for the count. And so that's a big question mark for a lot of the other publishers. So we shall see what happens with our industry when that big move takes place later this year.
It is a big deal. I was saying last week, there's a lot of pluses and minuses like anything that happens in this industry. The big positive I took away was that Disney Marvel is sort of reinvesting in comics, in print comics. They looked at the resiliency of the industry over the last year, and saw opportunity, not decline. And I saw that as a real positive for retailing, for fans, for the industry. The flip side of that is everything that you just said. If you're a fan of independent comics, if you're a fan of the books that aren't Marvel and DC, and we all are, right? Everybody has an Image book, a Dark Horse book, all that sort of thing. That becomes dicey. The future of Diamond is they're solid. They're a solid company, and they'll make it work.
The two of them, Marvel and DC, had to have made up at least 40, if not 60% of Diamond's business.
Yes. And so, if you tell Domino's that they can sell everything but pizza, it makes it tricky. Yes, everybody loves salads and garlic bread, but can you really make a run of it?
That sounds good. I'm hungry.
Maybe I am too. That's why the analogy just totally came to mind. But anywho, like I say, there's it's a big deal. There's going to be a lot to unfurl
We do not know.
over the next. Certainly, nothing's going to change for about 6 months, and then probably 6 months from now, a year from now, we'll really see the ramifications of all that.
Hopefully, it's good. Hopefully, it's change is good.
I always think competition is better.
Yeah.
Everybody has always hollered that Diamond needs a competitor, and now they have a competitor. So,
yeah, and Ruben's saying that most of his books are from small and indie press, and not to say that they're not going to continue to create and put out books. I think they might just need to look at a backup plan for distribution of them.
That's a great way to put it. It would just behoove these publishers to
phone. Hey, Random House.
Yes, to
hey,
at least throw a hook in the water and have a plan B.
Yeah.
Either for self distribution
right.
or digital or getting on board with Penguin or with Lunar or somebody. And then, like I say, Diamond may very well be viable, but there will be a lot of moving and shaking in the next few months, and it's really interesting how that plays out.
Did you want to also bring up us reopening again, just because it's getting closer?
Sure, I teased that a little bit.
Go for it.
I've talked enough already. Why don't you explain some of them?
I just talked a bunch. So we are going to be opening up to appointments, in-store appointments, starting in May. You might ask, why aren't we just opening up to the world now? Couple reasons. He needs to get both of his shots. And so
just one more. I've already had one.
That's right. So he's already half vaccinated. Because I want to make sure this guy stays healthy. That's my main goal, is to protect and make sure he's safe. And then 2, making sure you guys are safe too. The nice thing about the appointments is that you get the store and him all to yourself for 20 minutes at a time. So you can wander, you can ask questions, you can look at your pull list, you can do any and all things you want on your own without having other people in your way or jockeying for position or anything. So that's a good thing. So it's more of a boutique and a catered personal experience that we're going for. And on a larger philosophical note, the ways of retail are that have been, how we've been doing business for the last 50 years. I'm talking about retail in general. Doesn't work. Look at Macy's. Look at, JCPenney's. Look at Montgomery Ward. I'm dating myself. Mervyn's. All of these, big box stores. The way of retail is shifting and changing, and it's no longer about staying open all the time, hoping for a customer to walk in. It's about creating a customized and personalized experience that can be more engaging with the customer base that you have. So we're doing it hopefully to obviously to maintain safety, but secondary right after that is to create a new experience, a new shopping experience that I hope you guys will enjoy even more than before. So we're going to be experimenting with that, and love your feedback, and look forward to seeing you guys in person again starting in May.
It's really what it's about. It's about 2 things. One, it's about customer service. I want to give my customer who's here to buy comics and talk about comics the attention that they need. And a lot of times the attention and the service gets taken away from telemarketers, from people who come in to sell me stuff, from all kinds of distractions rather than from business related things. So I want to be dedicated to the customer when the customer is here. That's the big thing. The other thing is the explosion of online sales and the website and all that kind of thing. Like she said, realistically, e-commerce is the future. And we've been fortunate enough this past year to put some real emphasis on that. And it's worked. And the website's been crazy busy. So that is the new form of the walk-in customer, is the online orders coming in. I have to have a way of processing those orders, getting those orders out the door, getting those comics to the people that want them.
And being here at the same time.
And being here at the same time. The only way to do that is to regulate how the people come in. So I'm kind of excited about it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to providing you guys a better experience and keeping the website going full bore like it has been, because that's fun too.
And we'll still have curbside pickup for those that just don't have time or are not comfortable shopping indoors just yet, that's fine, no problem. We'll still have the curbside appointments available, the virtual store appointments available, and the in-store appointments available. So lots of different ways that you can enjoy shopping through Black Hat Comics.
And we're expanding the virtual shopping thing too, which is apparently already catching on, because I did just 2 of them on last Wednesday. So those of you who are not local, and or those of you who don't want to be out and about, or those of you who want to be in the shop without leaving the comfort of your couch, take advantage of that, because it's a lot of fun. Like I say, especially those of you who love the vintage comics, because you could take a look at the ones that I've got that might not necessarily be on the site. There's lots of them. Good time. So that's our reopening update.
That's a lot of news. It's 25 minutes.
That's
of
25
news.
minutes of news. Let's get on with the comics. We promised these nice folks some Tom King. So why don't you get on with it?
Okay. Well, I haven't read them yet, but this is what came out this week. Strange Adventures. I am loving the crap out of this book.
That might be my favorite.
Catch myself from saying some expletive, but I mean, just look at this. Oh, look at that art. I mean, come on.
I've been saying, if you're any fan of Batman the Animated Series, you have to read this title.
And what a great character to bring back and dust off from that time. Mask of the Phantasm, just phenomenal. And again, Catwoman and Joker's interaction in the first 2 issues are just like, oh, it's like butter. It goes down easy.
Wait till you get into that one.
I can't wait. And Strange Adventures, it's been good. I have to admit, it's great. It's interesting. It's a little more heady. It's not as gripping as Mr. Miracle. And I hate comparing it that way, but it is kind of the same writer-artist team. But it's a lot more intellectual, I'll say. And so it's taking a while to kind of feel into it, but it's starting to ramp up. The Mr. Terrific stuff has been phenomenal. I love learning more about that guy because he doesn't get enough attention. And having him in this book has been great. So he's been a huge highlight in that storyline.
I'm going to piggyback on all of that. As I said, this is might be my favorite book running right now. And if you watch this show or the Wednesday show, I have lots of favorites. I have lots and lots of favorites. To pick this one over a Marvel book first and foremost is shocking and just a little sacrilegious for my Stan Lee religion. But this book is everything that I love about comics. Great stories, great art, action-packed, twists and turns, cliffhanger endings, explosive endings. I was just saying earlier to one of my guys, the best thing about, and I said it, in fact, on the show, talk about Disney Plus. I just talked about this. The best thing about comics is getting to that last page and being like, oh, no way, I can't believe that just happened. And then having it stew around in your head for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months. And then you see that next issue. Oh, there it is. And your brain goes right back to that last panel. And that's what this book does. This book makes you tear through it. I read it twice every time I get it. And you tear through it and you get to the end and you can't believe it, and you got to have the next one and got to have the next one is what comics is all about.
That's right.
What I love about this one, and you just said it, what I love about science fiction, what everybody loves about science fiction, is it makes you think, not just about the story, but about the symbolism of the story and how it pertains to your life, your world, your society, whatever it might be. And this book definitely does that. And what's great about that is the point of the character. Adam Strange is a iconic's not the word I'm looking for, is a prototypical science fiction character. He's Buck Rogers. He's every science fiction character. He's the world out there is going to hell until the American shows up. And when the American shows up, everything is fine now. And that's John Carter. That's all the classic science fiction from 1850 to 1950. And Tom King took all that and flipped it on its ear. And then it's just made for a fascinating read. Like you say, Mr. Miracle is a little more straightforward. It's science fiction, but it's initially just an action thing. Explosions and war, and he's breaking out of the global prison and whatever. It's
about family. That was about family. Keep
Okay,
going.
I just mean the character.
Yes.
The Mr. Miracle mythos
Yes.
is really just about action. But Strange Adventures is about dark science fiction,
Yeah.
and he really nails that in a cool modern thing. So if you're
Good
not
stuff.
reading either or both of those
Oh,
books,
you're
missing out on a couple of modern classics.
So good.
Modern classics. That Tom King knows how to spin a yarn, man.
So one of my new favorites, and Ruben, if you're still watching, I know you love this one too. Two Moons. Oh my God. What a breakout hit from Image. We're on issue 2 that came out this week.
That art of just
okay. So let me see if I can wrap it up for you. A Native American who's fighting in the Civil War for the Union Army, and he starts to see things. He starts to hallucinate and see things that are paranormal. And that's really all I can say without giving the whole thing away. But I have to show you this art because it's amazing. Look at that. Look at that. Don't you want to read that? What's going on there?
What's going on there? Who is that guy?
It's so good. It's some of the best art I've seen in a long, long time. Since Nate, since our guy who wrote
Black Cat Chronicles.
But no, it's well worth the read. Well worth your time to pick that one up. Right? Yeah, same here, Ruben. I wasn't expecting it to be this good either. It's so good.
I hadn't really looked at it or seen it. Number one,
I'm like, look at this.
By me,
you gotta look at this.
And then I picked up number 2. I can't show you anything because I don't know what's spoilerific, but the art was just so phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. A lot like if you're watching last week, I was talking about Ivan Rice or Ivan Reyes or however you say his name, and I just love that. George Perez, Jim Aparo, John Byrne,
Jim Aparo,
highly detailed realism. Creating realism in a universe where people shoot lasers out their eyes is really awesome. Yeah. And it's gotten lost on comics over the years, and this just snapped me. I mean, wow.
Come on. You can't show that one.
No, I'm sure that's spoilerific. Yeah. But anyway, so
really good.
The art totally was amazing, and that sucked me into reading the story, and now I had to pick up both issues and check it out. And
it's a great story.
Which gets me to my other thing, and I say this about a lot of first issues, but particularly with Image books. If you're somebody that follows weekly comics, if you're somebody that reads a range of stuff or checks in with your shop, buy those first issue Image books. It's 90% of the time it's worth it. And if you don't like it, okay, give it to a friend or whatever have you. It's $4. It was a miss, but more often than not, it's going to be a book that blows you away.
Like Ha Ha.
Oh, I always say in the Wednesday video that Image, because of the nature of their creative-owned thing, they do all kinds of books. They run an infinite spectrum of genres and art styles and story styles and all kinds of things. So whoever you are, whatever you find interesting, there's an Image book for that. And if you just like comics, if you like stories and art, again, it's just they're going to turn you on to all kinds of things, like Ha Ha, like Shadecraft this week, like Two Moons, things that you're just not going to see from the other publishers. And if you don't check out those first issues, they're going to get by you. And when they get by you and you go back, it's going to be $50 or it's going to be a 4th printing, or you're going to have to wait for the trade paperback. So like I say, if you like comics, if you like stories, if you're not necessarily married to one publisher or one character or one thing, which if you are, that's fine. I'm that guy. But if you're just open to things, when you see a first issue Image book on the shipping list, grab it, because it's probably pretty good. You might not keep reading it for the rest of your life, but that first issue will have been really good, and it might turn you on to something absolutely amazing like that.
Yeah, and now I'm going to follow this writer and artist team because I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
Oh, well, okay. So Arcudi is a guy that most people should know anyway. He's been around for a long time, though. He's under everybody's radar.
Valerio Giangiordano. That's a mouthful.
Here you go. I know Arcudi's done some work for just about everybody, but I know he's done some westerns and things.
Got? What's top of your stack?
Okay, so I'm going to stay on that Image theme, but instead of the new schools, I'm going to go old school to the original well,
A
maybe
great
the
cover.
second, but one of the original Image books, still as good as ever, still as talked about, as takes the internet by storm as ever. This is Spawn 316. I love legacy numbers. I love no renumbering. As fun as it's ever been. As I say every time I talk about Spawn,
Oh, look at that.
it's not, if you
Rad.
don't like it, if you've checked out Spawn before and it's not your thing, it's not going to change
It's
your
still not going to
mind.
be your thing.
It's not going to win you back. But if you like it, it's awesome and as consistent as any book out there, as good as any book out there, and it just keeps unfolding into new worlds and new characters, and it's about to get even bigger. He's going to turn it
4
into
new books,
Spawniverse and a whole bunch of different books, and I just think it's a lot of fun. I think it's got a lot of imagination, a lot of excitement, great art. A lot like I was saying about Mike Mignola, who I'll get to in a minute. Todd works with top talent that suits what he does. And it works really well. And if you've read every issue of Spawn, it seems seamless. If you're just jumping into it, you just jump into it and go. I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
We came this close to getting Greg Capullo in for signing. There's a little rumor, there's a little behind the scene deals, and then it just fell apart.
And just, yeah. Womp womp. Maybe someday.
Came this close.
But Spawn, tons of fun, as good as it's ever been. They recently did the compendium now, all in colors, so you can read 1 through 50. That's really why I'm getting into it. I just wanted to throw this out there because it's awesome. But that was kind of my segue to this guy. Because let's face it, what Todd really does
is toys.
Is makes action figures better than anybody ever.
Yes.
And this is the latest incarnation of Mandarin Spawn.
I mean, that is so cool.
See how close I can get.
I'm like not into toys, but that thing is damn cool.
Super, super cool. I haven't seen a Spawn release in quite a while.
Right?
He's doing a lot of toys for DC. He does his sports thing. We haven't seen a Spawn release in a long time, so I was really stoked to order it, really stoked to get it in. And then it came in, I was like, man.
Even the packaging.
This is why lots of action figure companies like, is it Top Deck? See, I don't even remember anymore. Todd has put several toy companies out of business because his stuff is just amazing.
If you want to know the history of his toy empire, he talks a lot about it in the WonderCon panel from last week. So you can go to YouTube, you can go to WonderCon in Anaheim, their website, and get the link for the panels. They're all up from last weekend. But he talked a lot about him starting out doing his own toys. It's a Todd McFarlane story. It's all about him and his greatness.
Him and his amazing talent.
But it's true. Like, he can brag because he is the poop. So
did I mention how cool that looks?
So awesome.
Did I show you? Super, super cool. So, and he's one of those things, I've said this a lot already today, the kind of person that makes, the kind of creator that makes comics fun. Mm-hmm. Because he does what he wants to do. And if you like it, great. And we do like it. He's not trying to sell you something. He's trying to he just makes awesome stuff that he wants you to buy. And there's a world of difference between selling me something and making me something I want to buy. And so I've always given him that with the comic, with the toys, with everything he does. You see his excitement when he talks about it. And yes, the man's a megalomaniacal, I don't know if that's the word, egomaniac. But it's fun and he makes great stuff. I like, I don't know how excited he gets about the future of Spawniverse and everything.
And comics too.
And comics.
He loves comics.
He loves comics. He loves his universe, and that's a lot of fun.
That's contagious.
And I have to say, I'm just going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
I love when Spawn and Hellboy come out in the same week. Because it gives me a 1994 flashback that I always love. Young Hellboy.
So great.
I talked up Lady Baltimore last week, and now I'm talking up Young Hellboy. And everything I said last week pertains to that book and to this one. Mike Mignola is a collaborator with people with awesome talent. Mike Mignola is an endless imagination with endless range. There is nothing at all in common with Lady Baltimore and Young Hellboy, but if you read them both, you're going to dig it because, like Todd McFarlane, Mike Mignola makes great comics. He knows what great comics are, and he makes them.
He's doing something on Kickstarter too, like a movie, or help me out. There's something on Kickstarter that he's doing that looks big and awesome, but I didn't have a chance to go back and look at it.
The art is way different from anything you've seen in Hellboy or BPRD.
Yeah, it's more kid friendly, but it's not a kid book.
And exactly, that's the best way to put it. It's a kid's book that's not for kids. It's Young Hellboy, so it's kind of looks like an all ages book, but there's dinosaurs ripping heads off and stuff because it's Hellboy.
It's Hellboy meets Jurassic Park.
There you go. And like I say, it's just always fun when these were two of the best books of the 90s. And are still two of the best books in comics. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Thanks, Ruben. It was a movie, right? A documentary. Did they make their goal? God, I hope so. I want to see that. I want to see it.
A making of document. That would be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
And he's also, both of these guys are great reasons to be happy that conventions are coming back.
Yay.
Because Mignola's a great guy to meet at shows. And Todd does awesome panels.
Yeah.
So that's big Image Week this week. We could also mention, I got them back here, Crossover, Decorum. There's a lot of good Image books this week.
DC too. Good times.
Yeah. Oh, or do you have anything?
I think I'm done.
All right. I'm going to throw out one more thing.
I had a lot of stuff this week, but I haven't read it all yet, so I can't really speak to it just yet.
I'm going to talk about King in Black real quick. Because
nice, Ruben. Rad.
King in Black has really pleasantly surprised me in every way, shape, and form. I'm not necessarily a Venom person. He was a little after my time. But the event has been fun, great stories, great art. And these two books particularly were really cool. So real fast. Symbiote Spider-Man number 5. This is the last issue. So and I think number 3 was some big deal. So you might have to wait for the trade paperback. But all this Symbiote Spider-Man stuff has been a ton of fun. Number 1, because it's written by Peter David. Peter David is one of the all-time great writers of comics, indisputably. Everybody knows his run on Incredible Hulk with the aforementioned Todd McFarlane. But sax and violins and on and on and on and on I could go with the genius of Peter David. You already know that. The other thing about this book is that they're all flashback. This all takes place when he first gets the black suit, which is fun. And they're sort of wedged back in those classic timelines that you remember. Anything by Peter David is a fun read. Everybody loves Spidey stuff. And some fun. Cool art. So, and then Ghost Rider King in Black, I mentioned because 2 things. One, I always like to say, if you're only following the main book, which wraps up next week, in fact, King in Black 5 and 5, you don't have to read any of this stuff. You can ignore everything that says King in Black on it because they're just side books about side characters and don't impact your main story. But if you love the main story, and you're fortunate enough to have gainful employment, then drop bucks on the side books and on the one-shots because in most cases they're a lot of fun. And then this Ghost Rider one particularly, I don't want to show too much because it's kind of spoilerific, but I mean,
art's great.
Venom Dragon, come on. That's awesome. And then there's Mephisto, some Ghost Rider. If you like the edgier part of the Marvel Universe, Ghost Rider is always fun. Anything with Mephisto is always fun. And then, like I say, across the board, I wasn't expecting to read any of this King in Black stuff. But every time I picked one up, I liked the art, and then that sucked me into reading the story. And 22 pages later, I was a fan. Again, King of Black 5 comes next week. If you're following the main book, give some of these other ones a try. If you haven't been following any of it, pick up some of the number 1s, check out the art. If you like the art, keep reading the book because it's been a really fun event. I have to say, I know a lot of people get event fatigue
There's another one starting like in a couple weeks. Heroes Reborn.
Yes, Heroes Reborn will be kicking off very soon. The art teams on those books are pretty amazing. Marvel's got like top talent.
Do you know what the synopsis of that yet?
Basically, it's what if the Avengers had never been? What if it's the Marvel Universe without Cap, Thor, Iron Man had never been? And so what has happened, what is happening, what goes on in a world without the Avengers?
Pandemics.
What other heroes step up? What happens in a world without the Avengers?
Interesting.
My short answer to that is Doom rules, but I'm sure that's not the case.
We shall see. You've been pretty good at predicting things in the past.
I'm a little too good at predicting things, to be honest with you.
Spoiler, king of spoils.
Because I don't mean to. I've just read too many comic books, and
you know how this ends.
So I make good guesses. Yeah.
So what's the top of your stack? What are you guys reading?
So yeah, we'll roll the Q&A as we start to wrap it up. Feel free to throw your questions, comments. What are you reading? What's at the top of your stack? What are you waiting to check out if you haven't checked out your books? So sign up for the Black Hat Comics newsletter. You'll get the newsletter every Wednesday, and it's got fun, informational stuff about what's going on here in the shop, news and reviews of the books that are out that week. And when you get your newsletter, you know that the website's live. So you can go to black-cat-comics.com, click on New This Week, take a look at all the books that I talked about in the Wednesday video. You pick them up, you read them through the week, you tune in Saturday, we talk about them here on Comic Shop Talk Live.
Good times.
So that about wraps that up for this week. Again, book one of those virtual shopping experiences to take a look at some of the vintage comics I just picked up, and or tune in the last Friday of the month, 6 p.m. The last Friday of April. This month's show will be number ones, which are always fun and exciting.
You said something about pizza.
I did.
I haven't stopped thinking about it since.
Well, that makes it lunchtime. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time in a brand new show.